be like phenomenal and something that'll last way longer than what we'll last ourselves.
When you've put so much of your heart into the designs and then you go on Instagram and someone's copied it.
Yeah.
And it's your brother's design that they've copied. And I see people copying your stuff all the time. How's that?
It's good. It means the design's good, right?
But that's not how you felt the first time.
No, at first you fucking hate it and you think people are taking food off your table, and in some cases that's right. And if it's a brand that's like very similar to us and they're trying to do the same, they're at the same price points as us and they're in our market and they're taking market share, then yeah, it's like they shouldn't be doing that, and it'll bite them in the ass when it comes to it. And at the end of the day, it's who's in it for the long run, right? Copying other people. We used to do it when we started. I'm not going to sit here and say everything was original. We've all been there and done that. I don't think when you're at a larger scale you do it, but then you see brands that are huge high luxury fashion brands go and do it to a small designer. So I think it's just what comes with life. I'm sure you'll get it with podcasts. It's the same thing, right? You just got to laugh at it.
Yeah, I've thought about how, you know, my journey with people like copying what you do, or whatever, it's been on a bit of a journey, and it's difficult because especially when you care so much about something, if someone copies it, it really hits you in the heart to some degree. It's like, especially if you can like remember where you came up with that idea, and then, but you're right, it's an inevitability, and it's also, I always think about how the most important stuff is actually the part of the iceberg under the water. Yeah, and even with design, I try and get this across to my team that like, it's not even the design really that counts. It's the whole brand. They're not buying into this word. Yeah. They're not buying into that. They're buying into this essence of like them becoming part of this club, and like they're getting this prestige and they're getting the workouts, and they're all part of this whole like lifestyle that we're portraying and doing and living and becoming. The most important stuff they can't copy. No one can copy that. They can copy a logo and they can't copy like what you stand for, right? Mm. So you've gone from being a business that was making sort of 8 million in 2018 to, as we sit here now, I think last year you did about $100 million. Yeah. Which is exceptional. Money is now large in your life, and I'm sure you run the numbers and you go, shit, look, I'm worth this much money if I sold it for this fucking hour. Try not to. But how do you think about money now? I'm not going to lie and sit here and say like, oh, money's not an issue. Money's not a thing that drives me, because it is. And I think it is with everyone. And I'll speak to billionaires and they'll say on camera that they're doing it for this and they're doing it for that. And then they'll say off camera like, I want to get fucking rich. Of course I want to be rich. Everyone wants to be rich. There's no negativity that comes with having a lot of money. And I think that society and the way it's perceived now is like not a good thing that you're making a lot of money. Like I want Represent to be doing billions. I want everyone in the business to be extremely wealthy. I want the leadership team to be able to have generational wealth. Like that's first and foremost. Like I love that. Why not? But if you had £1 billion now, would you be any happier? I don't measure anything on happiness. Like I'm happy to sit and design for 6 hours, or I'm happy to go for a run and like absolutely ruin my legs. Like that makes me happy. I also like doing hard things and rewarding myself. And that's not really money, but like I said earlier, money never has a negative impact, I don't think. But on that point about giving you $1 billion, if I give you $1 billion and it's not going to make you any happier, then what's the point in the money? I think it will make me happier. Really? Yeah, of course. Dude, my family would be set forever. All my team would be set forever. Like that in itself makes me happy. Imagine me being able to turn up to my family and being like, okay, Dad, I know you've worked all your life. Here's this. Enjoy it. What's the exit strategy per se? I don't know anything else, so why would I want to leave? How are you going to get the $1 billion if you don't leave? We'll do it in profits. No, I don't want $1 billion in my bank account. Like that's not needed. But when you say what's the exit strategy, I'm like, when I watched you leave your business, I was always thinking like you already had the podcast lined up and you're already ready to move into this other thing anyway. So it made sense for you. I don't have that, and
I also don't want that. Like, I love represent. I wake up and it's represent everything. Everything I talk to about everyone is the brand. Everything I do is the brand. Like, even bringing my fitness into this thing is my brand. And like, I've been able to then build 247 into this brand, which is actually just like more of a passion project for me than building a business. And even though like all the athletes that are involved, like, I'm able to suck so much like knowledge and worth out of these people personally for myself through the brand. So me then moving into something else or just selling the business doesn't make sense.
When your identity and your profession become so intrinsically linked, there's a cost to that, right? Because it must feel, you talked about backs being against the wall. God, if the brand were to go down, if the revenue started to plummet and it went out of vogue or whatever they call it, like it just was not popular anymore, that's linked to your like self-esteem and your like self-worth and your identity.
100%. And look, there is days where it doesn't do well. There is still days now where we'll launch products and we'll have a nightmare with it.
How does that feel, honestly?
It fucks with your confidence. But it also gives you a realization that you're not superhuman and you can't do everything, and not everything you touch turns to gold. And then you've got to go back to the drawing board and do it again. What
does that look like? So that you think about the last time it happened, how did it feel and how long did that feeling last?
It lasts a few days, and I'll speak to Spenny about it a lot over them few days, and he'll reassure that something else is going to take that feeling away from it, and it usually does. And as well, like it's not all about small failures along the way. There's so many exciting things that when something small trips you up a little bit, you've got to realize like, no, this is for the long term. Like, the future is this. There's in 10 years, let's look back at this as like a learning curve.
Amongst all of this, you've still got to figure out how to have a life, like a personal life, because regardless of how intrinsically connected you are to the brand represent, you're still going to need to have a life. You're still going to need to be a George in there somewhere.
Yeah. And I never really did for a long time. Past 10 years, I've not really had a life. Nothing outside of represent, but I've built represent into my life.
In the moment, I think about, times in my career where I was absolutely all in on something to the point that I was like 7 days a week in this fucking office. And even the weekends when there's nothing to do, I'm just in there because I've got no mates.
Dude, that's when I realized. So them Sundays where you'd be sat at home on your own, no one would be messaging you. You can't do anything with people in the business because it's their time off with their families. That's when I realized, like, fuck, I'm probably too bought into this.
Were you lonely?
Alone, but never lonely. I never got to the point where I felt lonely. Maybe a little bit, but like I would distract myself with going working out for 5 hours. or just putting my headphones in and listening to a book and just going and coming back, and then the Sunday's done anyway. Sundays were my worst days because I didn't have anyone to do anything with. Like I'd go and train at a local gym where there was a big community there from 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. and I'd come home and I'd just sit there and think, when's it Monday?
Isn't that funny?
Text my mum like, what are you up to? And she'd be like, oh, we're actually up in Scotland doing this trip. And I'd be like, fuck, I can't even go and see my mum. So yeah, I guess there is a little bit of loneliness in there. Yeah.
I was lonely, but I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
I only know it in hindsight because I look back at the way I was living and I was filling the gap, the Sunday, Saturday, some evenings, holidays, even Christmases, because I was in Manchester, my family were in the Southwest. I was filling it with work, often just like pointless work.
Yeah, absolutely unneeded stuff. A lot of the time it's great and you can go out and you can spend a few hours on your own and write a load of things down that you need to do that next week, but you need a team to do anything. Like I can't get anything done without the team. And that's one thing I would realize every weekend, that like I'm wasting my time pretending to work.
That's exactly what I was doing. Relationships, romantic relationships. Let's start with non-romantic relationships, in fact. You talk about having to shed people in terms of like negative influences in order to change your life. People ask me about this all the time, which is, how important is the environment on personal and professional success?
I think it's everything. I think your ecosystem that you build around you is everything. Whether that's the distance it takes you to get to the gym or the people you follow on social media. If you're following Joe from school that's out every night drinking and you're watching them stories, even if it's 20 seconds of your day, you're wasting your time watching them stories, and you're also looking at things that are just absolutely pointless to your life. So why don't you go and follow someone who's done what you want to do, or is doing what you want to do, or who actually inspires you, and just clear out all the bullshit, and you're going to be so much more in the right headspace if you do something like that.
Did you do that? Did you clear out?
Yeah. I did it a lot of times. Got a lot of bad messages from doing it.
Really? You unfollowed Joe? Okay.
Yeah, why'd you unfollow me?
Did you explain it to him?
Yeah. Just tell him how it is. Just say, look, mate, I don't want to watch you sit anymore.
So romantic relationships then, how has that been? Because it must be pretty tricky with the level of obsession that you have to maintain a healthy, happy romantic relationship.
Non-existent. Didn't entertain it for so many years. Tried it once, maybe like when I was 25, 26, and just didn't work.
Why didn't it work?
I was obsessed with work, and I was also like, I didn't know who I was and what I wanted to be. And it was before that era, before that time of mine where I changed. So it's just, I didn't like who I was. And obviously that doesn't work when you're in a relationship. You gotta love yourself first, right? Mm-hmm. And then after that, I just kind of just said, no, I'm not doing it, and didn't up until recently, really. Didn't entertain it at all for so many years.
You got a girlfriend?
Have I now? Not really, kind of.
Would she answer this question the same way?
No,
she got a boyfriend.
She's got a boyfriend. Nah.
Are you a little bit, you're an avoidant, aren't you? Do you know the attachment styles? Have you heard about the attachment styles?
No, what's that?
3 attachment styles. You've got the secures. They're the ones that just have the perfect relationships.
Right.
You know, they're like, no problems. They're like, you know, and then you've got the anxious ones who are clingy, like needy. Right. Like they need attention. Yeah, exactly. And then you've got the avoidant who kind of run.
Right.
You strike me as an avoidant.
I don't know what I am. I really don't know. I'm definitely not an attachment one, no. And I just always thought it would be a pressure on myself to then, and I didn't want to let someone else down because of what I was doing with work. And I don't want to have to explain to someone like, this is my business, this is my life, I'm doing this all the time, when they want to see you and they want your attention and stuff. But now, like, hiring Spenny and having more time and actually moving out here, I've got time now. Like, my day is done way before what it was at home. I would work I'd train, and then I'd be in the office at 5:30 in the morning, I'd leave at 7 p.m. and I'd go to bed. So there was no time. But now I can wake up early, get all the stuff done with the guys at home, work with the guys over here, building out, representing LA, and then I can be done by like 2-3 p.m. a lot of days. So I have then time to, like, I guess, date girls and things like that.
And how's that going?
Hate it.
Really?
No, I'm not hate it, I guess.
No, you do hate it, because I
have this fucking feeling where I'm not fulfilling what I should be doing, and I'm kind of giving myself a disservice if I'm out doing something else. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs and people who run businesses get that, where, like, if you're not fully into the business, like, with every minute of your time, you feel like you're not doing the right thing. And I'm starting to try and get out.
Like a guilt feeling?
Yes, very guilty, yeah. And that actually caused me a little bit of what we think is anxiety. I don't know if it is anxiety, but it would.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I would wake up the next day and be like, fuck, I've like spent 4 hours with this person that I'm not interested in seeing. That's what I've wasted 4 hours where I could have been working, could have been building the brand, could have been doing other things.
Sounds like a lot. When I say a lot, I mean like a weight to carry.
Yeah.
Like to not be able to go on a date with someone for 4 hours without waking up the next day feeling anxious about how you spent your time. It feels like your passion's become a bit of a prison. Yeah,
self-inflicted prison. But I love it, and it's a privilege to have it. But I'm learning. Like I said, I kind of got a girlfriend right now.
kind of got a girlfriend. You're in so much trouble. You have no idea.
That's fine.
She's like, oh, George was on a podcast. I'll have a listen to this. She's going to click it. We'll do a chapter on YouTube, which is called George's